Hi everyone, my name is Nancy, and the story of where my whole dance journey started. Growing up, I've always started traditional dancing. I've done it with my cousin. I've never done anything competitively, but it was something that I love to do. We would traditional dance in the living room, and throughout the year growing up, I would always I'll always attend the Hmong New Year that happens annually. There's the one in River Center and there's the one in the Metrodome, and I will attend both. And I would always see dance competitions, and I knew growing up I was really fascinated by it. I remember there was other teams like Motion Crew and Minnesota Sunshine and Minnesota Butterfly, and I used to beg my dad and mom to please sign me up to dance with them because I just wanted to dance. Unfortunately, I didn't have that luxury of learning of being able to dance. So yeah, that's how I ended up just starting out dancing with my cousins, and that progressed to going from traditional Hmong dancing to K-pop covers. And I was doing K-pop covers for a while in high school with my cousins, the same cousins, and we started this little group called MB, and it was just me and my 4 or 5 cousins, and we would go back and perform at the Hmong New Year, and it wasn't competition, it was just a performance. I don't know if anyone remembers, but there's the big stage and there's a small stage, and we will aim for the small stage, and we would just perform there 2-3 times out of the day, and it'll be the same set, but we were just so in love, infatuated with dance that it was worth that. Moving into that, after high school, I ended up leaving and I ended up going to college. And during college, there was a lot of dark moments in my life, and I didn't really have the biggest support with my family. So when I went into college, I was recommended to join a student organization called Hip Hope. And when it was a friend, and she was like, "Hey, you should do it." It was just something that she just recommended me, and I was really anxious, and I was like, maybe it's not right for me. But after taking the first workshop, it was like instant love. When it's true love, it's true love, and I just knew that it was my fit. And that's also one struggle. That's one thing that I struggled with growing up. Was yes, I enjoyed traditional dancing, but it wasn't really me. I did K-pop dancing, but it wasn't really me. There was a lot of things that I did not really stand for, and on top of that too, I didn't really have a lot of support from pretty much anyone. So I didn't really have found a deeper connection with that until I joined the student organization and in college. And with that, I was able to find the right group of friends. I was able to find the right group of support, and throughout this process, I did not get a lot of support from my family, and they were against it. But it was not only was there this connection, but there was this feeling that I just felt right. When something just feels right, you just kind of have to trust your gut. I was telling myself, yes, I may not get all my support, but if I have something, it's more than nothing. It's better than nothing. So I joined that student org, and I started learning, and I was very new, so I was learning, and they were more curated towards an urban, or something that was once called urban, now we call it open style, an open style / hip hop choreography base. So you went to the workshop, you learned the choreography from a guest instructor, and that was it. And that was when I started diving more into hip hop, more into the open style, more into, other styles such as, whacking and house. And, the more I dug into, I just fell in love, and everything just sat really nicely, on top of each other. And, I was able to have the opportunity to learn from a lot of students and a lot of people who are in the dance community, such as, Ozzy, such as Herb, such as Joelle, Frankie, and, that's where I met my husband, Shawn. And, it's just a few of the people who I look up to. And from there, I was able to also connect with people who are from out of states. But yeah, so we went, when I was with the student organization, I ended up joining another student org called PSA, so the Filipino Student Association, and I joined their modern group. It was just because I just wanted to perform, and I think during that time, Frankie and Edgar, they were running it, and they were saying, hey, you should join, and I was like, yeah, okay. And, we did a performance for their, one of their events, and that was when I brought in Shawn because I was a fashion coordinator. So I was like, hey, you should come and coordinate, come model for me. And then, that's where we kind of knew each other. And then from there, we met a friend, and his name was Mimo, and he was like, hey, would you be interested in ever making a team and competing in World Dance Chicago? And I was like, World Dance, of course. I have no clue what it means, but it sounds really cool. And then from there, I started connecting more with, with them, and it was really funny because it was our group that was in that set. We all kind of shifted over to the comp group, and that was when everything just kind of exploded. So I was with, we ended up creating a group called Minnesota Motion. And I was with them for about 3 to 4 years. And during that time, after the 4 years, we decided to leave and we decided to start our own group. And that was when we actually started and co-founded the group called Elite Family. So, we started the group, and it was me, Shawn, and Russ, and Annie, and it was just kind of from scratch. It was like, we wanted to start a group, and we wanted to go and compete. How can we do that? And that was pretty much how everything started with, where we are now. And yeah, during this process, there was obviously a lot of issues that was going on. When I was dancing throughout this whole journey, I didn't really have a lot of support from my family because, as you may know, a lot of Hmong parents, they don't condone this activity, and they think it's like a bad thing, but it's really rewarding. I remember telling my parents, I get to work out, and I get to sweat, and I get to dance, and I get to do what I love. There's no price that you can put onto it. So going from there, I started Elite Family, and we've been going for 6 years strong. So this is our 6th season, but because of COVID, we have to end it, which is completely fine. And when we started with Elite Family, more opportunities started to come up. We started curating more opportunities, and right now I'm one of the co-founder of Elite Family, and then I am also a part of an all-women's team, sisterhood called Gentle Bays. I'm one of the co-captains for them, and then on top of that, I'm a member of an all-women's group called She, and then, on top of this busy schedule that I have, I'm also an instructor at House of Dance. So yeah, that's just a little bit of my dance journey, but it all started from just taking one class and being so inspired and just craving to learn, and it started from here. And I train everywhere. Other than Minnesota, I train out of states, and whenever I get to go to California, I take advantage of that. So my training varies from in-state with all these dancers, and then out of state, and then in California. So yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. What's up, everybody? My name is Shawn Vu. Where should I start? Start at the very beginning. So, it was when I was in 8th grade, my point of entry to dance was breakdance. That was the style. I saw a lot of people actually dancing at my middle school, Jackson Middle School. And I was like, what are you guys doing? Can I join? And they're like, the instructor came up and he was like, this is a paid class. Oh. And I was like, I got no money, huh? So I was like, all right. So I kind of just walked out because, I was a shy kid. I was overweight, and I was just super shy, and I didn't know how to, have a conversation as much. So I just, went home, and then that was towards the end of the year of 8th grade. So I saw that they were dancing, and it looked pretty cool. I knew that my friends that I kind of grew up with from from elementary school to middle school, they also did breakdance. That was the name of the style. And I was really interested in that. So I was trying to practice throughout the summer by myself. I didn't know what it technically looked like or had anyone to reference. So actually that summer, I ended up breaking my collarbone. So I was trying to do a air track. One of the hardest moves to start when you're a beginner. So somehow, like I just did not do that, and I fell on my shoulder, and it snapped my collarbone in half. So I was wearing this back brace for like a good 6 months before I went to high school. So while I was wearing it, I was like, man, I gotta do something about I wanna get there. I wanna do that. So then while I was kind of going to high school, I was with my uncle, and he was just kind of he was like my role model. His name was Peter Vu. So he was showing me the ropes. He was showing me a lot about how to talk to girls, and you gotta have that one uncle. So I was like, yeah, I want a girlfriend, because he was talking to me about girls and stuff. So I was like, man, I wanna learn how to break dance so I can get a girlfriend. And that was my biggest reason why I kind of started dancing at first. So then I kind of I'm walking into freshman year of high school, and then I was I actually ended up playing tennis that summer instead of breakdancing. So then I was extremely tan, and that was after coming back from my brace. So I was like, man, I want to start breakdancing, but I don't know who. I reached out to my friends' brothers group, the older brothers, because we have this weird. My brother and their brothers are friends, and then their younger brothers and me were friends, and then we have a younger brother where they're all kind of friends. So it's a generational connection of friendship. I wanted to join them, but then they were like, no, you have to be good at breakdance. So I'm like, all right. So it never happened. They turned out to be collaborations crew back then. That was around 2004, 2005. And then I was going into 2005 to 2006. That was during the time where I was kind of going to high school, and I was like, I have no one to breakdance with. So I went on this art trip to the museum. I forgot what museum it was, but I met this one guy named John Vang. He showed me he actually took me to McDonald's and showed me how to order from McDonald's for the first time. So I was super excited about that. But he turned out that he liked breakdancing too. So we're like, hey, let's connect. So we started this friendship with each other where we just danced together, and his brother danced, and we found some more people over at Chaplain Park High School to create a breakdance club over there. And it was really really different how we were kind of starting that. And I've always wanted to get in on something, but I never really had that. I was a sheltered child my whole life. So I was this is my first time doing it. And my point of entry was through the style of breakdancing, but then it was also through the lens of leadership and management, right away. I didn't get a chance to be a student. I just kind of went straight into this big role. So I was since I never got the opportunity to have resources to learn or to grow or to have that in my childhood, it kind of just manifested on me to kind of just hosting because no one else was doing it. So throughout my high school year, we were just doing the breakdance club, hosting things for other people, teaching people how to breakdance, even though we weren't that great ourselves. My question was do I teach people or does it not happen? So I just chose the latter because it made more sense to me. And then that was during my sophomore to junior year, I believe. That was when our breakdancing club and all that stuff was picking up more. And that's where collaborations crew noticed me, and they're like, hey, you want to join our crew? And I was like, yes, I do. I do, yeah. So that worked out. I joined them in. It was me, my friend John, actually joined too, and then his brother Vang, and then I met my other friend who became my best friend was Tony Xiong. So it was kind of us kind of going into the collaborations crew because they've been going on for a very long time. I believe before 2000, they were started, I think the head honcho was Ronald Vang, and then the other leaders were Nep and Vang and Sunny Vang. It was a family crew, so majority of the brothers and sisters were kind of like leading it. But we came in, and I think it was after they had a split. It was a huge crew back in the days, and then they actually split from collaborations to Break Brats, which ultimately became Looney Tunes, which they're still here.
Yeah.
And then that was pretty cool to kind of like be part of that that umbrella, that family branch. But then when we came in, that was when like things weren't like the leadership was like trying to figure things out. But ultimately it ended with us kind of joining in as the last last generation of collaboration crew. I think everything just stopped. We talked to them about it, but we wanted to continue collaborations crew, just me, Tony, and Peng. John was going to college and he was going to do his own thing. And then we were like, hey, we want to keep pushing with collaborations crew. Can we do that? But it just never worked out. So we just kind of continued with our breakdance club at Chaplin Park High School. We hosted a lot of jams because we were like, hey, let's have battles. We don't have any money, but maybe like $50 for first prize or $100 for first place, whatever money we had. So it was the competition called Flow With It. And we had it for about 3-4 years where we kind of met more of the breakdancers from the community. Saw Cheng and his group, they all came in wearing white with the black zigzag and purple. You remember that? So I really, it's like the only group that came in wearing uniforms. I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. I want a uniform too. But that was like the really cool highlight. During those years, 2007 to 8 to 9, was where I kind of noticed like there was a huge boom in breakdancers, especially in the Hmong community. We had a lot of young breakdancers, boys and girls. And that was really cool. And that didn't really like manifest too much in my mind until my senior year, where I kind of realized that like in our Hmong culture, like since we came from a different country, we don't have many role models and we don't see many role models. And we're kind of in this weird social identity crisis where it's like, who are we? You know, like who am I? What values do we like really like work on? And that's where like kind of breakdancing became a huge platform and a medium for us to kind of find ourselves. And I kind of saw that like, I do believe that a lot of the guys started breakdancing to get the attention of the girls. But it's funny because I did get the girlfriend, and then I was like, what's left? What's more after that? So I was like in this weird like, I got the girlfriend, I got the end goal, but now it's like, why am I still doing this? And it kind of like came into me to the whole idea of like social identity, of like finding yourself as a person. What do you believe in? What do you stand up for? And I was just like figuring out why am I still continuing that? Because I was doing a lot of leading, hosting, managing, and then my friend John, when he was in college, he was still doing this program in Minneapolis, Fit Force, with the neighborhood health clinics, especially with Fremont Neighborhood Health Clinic. So then he was like, hey, I'm teaching this program. Do you want to come and hang out with us and teach it too? So I was like, yes. So all the brothers, we all went there with him. It was me, John, Tony, and Peng. And we're just like teaching kids from the community in Minneapolis, free classes on breakdancing, and it was just really cool. We had that, and it was just like kind of growing up into kind of just providing opportunities for other people. And that kind of led to the end of like my high school year kind of. I wanted to continue with breakdance some more, but then it wasn't until like I was at John Vang's house and I was like, we were watching America's Best Dance Crew, and it was season 1. It was between Jabberwockies and Kaba Modern. And both, I don't think Jabberwocky, it wasn't Jabberwocky. It was Kaba Modern. They were crying about like, they really want to win so bad. And we were watching the performances and then they were just like dancing. I'm like, what is that? Like, it's like they're all together. I love that. And it became more like hip hop choreography. What they're saying, it was hip hop, but media-wise, it would be hip hop. But I've come to find out that there's a lot of different styles that it's just crammed under the term of hip hop. But then I was like, I really like that choreography. I want to try that. I didn't know who to reach out to, so I was just kind of like watching YouTube videos and trying to figure out how to mimic the movements. And then it kind of like took me to the next part of my life where it's like being a freelance dancer. Like, what am I going to do after college? Like, I have no idea. Like, what do I want to do? And all I knew how to do was to just dance. So I went on this weird journey of being a freelance dancer, just taking random jobs around the cities. I remember I was doing one for, I totally forgot the name. It was just a gig for a commercial that was for a music video for a company. And I was doing that, and then just kind of like having these odd jobs, because it's, as a dancer, trying to find gigs and have this as a career in Minnesota is kind of weird, because usually the idea is that you go to California, you go to somewhere else because there's more opportunities, and that's true. There's opportunities here, but then you have to be kind of unique about it. So I had this weird 1 to 2 year journey of like finding gigs and trying to be part of it. I worked as a choreographer for Premier Entertainments, but then I believe they closed down the business due to financial reasons. Never got paid. And then that was when I was just kind of like taking jobs. One job I took was a summer instructor for CHAT, Center for Hmong Arts and Talents. I taught dance, hip hop for the kids, and then I was also instructor for Hmong American Partnerships program for International Hmong Academy in Minneapolis. So it was a lot of these random summer part-time jobs, teaching youths how to dance and just kind of meeting them out and just trying different things throughout the community. And then I was still kind of like finding myself, because like, what am I going to be doing? You know, and it was a difficult time, because like as a Hmong dancer, like again, Hmong, in our culture, dancing isn't like it's looked down upon because it's like a hobby. And like, no doubt, in the past, like our Hmong culture, our families would be farming, they would be making money, they would be doing something that would benefit the family, and I was just doing this dancing thing that just doesn't do anything to them. And they've always like chastised me about it and told me not to do it, but I kind of took an approach where it's like, I'm not gonna listen to you guys, I'm gonna just kind of keep doing it. And like, that does sound kind of bad, but it took me on this like different journey to kind of like looking at dance from a different perspective, like how can this benefit me to make me better as a person? But then again, I looked at it back again, and I realized that there's not a lot of role models and leaders, and I was kind of out on my own, kind of making my own path and deciding for myself what's important. And that's where I kind of met Nancy, because I was like, hey, I got a gig, it's down in Mankato, I need a girl to stand there for me for 3 minutes, $100, can you do it for me? And she was like, I'll get back to you. And then she said, no. I was like, wait. I was confused, but I was like, I guess now, like, I get it. Like, it's kind of weird for someone to just message you. I joined a bunch of dance groups on Facebook to find dancers to connect with. So then that's how we kind of connected for a little bit. And then she reached out to me later on saying, hey, I need a model, you want to show up? I'm like, sure, I'll show up. Because I was in the zone where it's like, I got to connect, I got to find people, whatever it takes, and I show up. And I feel like I was the only one that actually showed up to that opportunity. And I met more people. I met Hip Hope, a student organization at the U of M, and I joined them, and we took weekly classes, and it was really good. But then like, I kind of like, I was working more on dance, more so myself. So then I had this weird like disconnection of my life where it's like, it wasn't properly balanced. But then I kind of continued with the dance with Nancy. Everyone else was like, all my parents were like, don't dance, you need to focus on this and this. I'm like, you're right, but I'm not gonna do that. And you know, I was trying to find out why. Like, why am I kind of going in this different route? And ultimately, like I joined Minnesota Motion. That was part of the thing, and it kind of immersed me into this whole world of dance choreography, hip hop, different styles. And it was, we went to World of Dance Chicago, blew my mind. I saw all of these dancers who had the resources and had all the people that were supporting them, and just watching them perform, like, why am I not doing that? And then I was just like feeling some type of way about it because I was like, man, like I love this. Like, where can I get more of this? And it came back when I came back to Minnesota from Chicago. I was like, like we don't have that here, and no one's going to be providing that, And it came back to me. It was like, I'm back in this position of having to host, having to be a leader, having to manage, having to provide, and a lot of the times I feel like in dance was the reason why I did it was because one, I was trying to find out who I was, and then two, it was because I wanted to provide the resources that I never had to other people. And that kind of became like that kind of lifestyle kind of ideas that it kind of grew into that role. And Minnesota Motions had their ups and downs, and it got to the point where we just didn't quite agree with the directions of the leadership. So then I was like, Nancy, we gotta quit. we gotta leave out of this. It's not gonna work out. And she was like, I don't want to. And then like we have to do it. So we did it. She was really mad and sad, and she cried. And I was like, but it was the best decision that we made. It was because it took us on a different journey. And then that's when we started Elite Family Dance with Annie Moua and Rasas and Lai. We're all co-founders, and it's given us years. We started in 2015. And again, we're back in the same position of like providing opportunities, trying to go, but then like my reason was like, I just want to go there and like kill it and like just destroy the competition. But then it kind of brought all these responsibilities, like all the little things that kind of helped me kind of grow into that, into this role now. And it's been about 6 seasons, 6 years. And during that time, those 6 years, I've became a coach for a dance group called Zephonics for about a year at Asian Media Access. It's a nonprofit in Minneapolis. And from there on, I started a different dance group, which was GXG Dance, which was gentlemen's and gentlebays, because I just enjoyed the whole idea of like hosting and providing and then like doing my own projects and all of that stuff. I was really interested in that. And now, like, I was really into the whole idea of like finding out why I was dancing, why I was doing all these things, and it was just kind of like for me to really highlight and showcase the best moments of everything, which kind of brought me to videography. Actually, I did a lot of videography work with dance as my focus, because I was like, there's a lot of things about dance that people don't see, so that I want to bring out with the videography lens. So I've been kind of doing that as well, and trying to highlight those things. And I think that dance has really shaped me in terms of what I want to become, what I want to provide, who I am, finding my place in this world. And that's something that like I definitely understand, like a lot of people, especially in my Hmong culture, we struggle with, because it's like, who are we? And that's the hardest part to kind of understand. And now more than ever, now there's a lot of resources. We have this library. We have a lot of things in St. Paul. Things are happening. We're starting to have, I guess, my generation, where it's like, we know that we're lacking role models, and everyone's kind of like growing into their own specific, unique roles. Now we're becoming role models for the next generation, which is really cool. And I can see this full circle effect. Like, no doubt we were the first to kind of like, not really the first, but then more so like the first to head first into all this like uncertainty. But now that we can kind of become that light for other people to go on. So with that, like I'm not really sure like how things kind of came together, but kind of committing to something and then just trying to learn about it and understand more has really changed my perspective, and allowed me to become who I am today, to be even a part of this, to meet everyone. And it's just like the whole idea of like, I guess social identity is that like, how will you kind of find yourself, where you want to go, and how does it fit into like the world? And I think that's where I'm at now. Yeah.
Beautiful, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I'm Melvina. I guess my interest for dance kind of came up more so in middle school. Dancing wasn't really, music too actually, wasn't really like a big thing in like my family. Like occasionally we'll have music, but then it was very select. One, because my family, they farm, so they were busy. So it wasn't until I kind of hung out with my cousins and them more, and we started watching movies, we started watching music videos. So that's kind of where my interest started. But it was always just like an interest. I didn't really like dive into it as much, and not until high school, where I attended. Well, I went to high school in Egan, so they had a dance class that I was able to take, and I didn't take the class until I would say my junior year. So that's when I met like Jennifer Glass, who was the new dance teacher, and she kind of just took us to events or organizations to kind of show us different forms of dance. So I was introduced to like contemporary. I was introduced to a little bit African dancing, not really. I think I got more of that when I attended the festival that she showed us, where the festival, they bring in different artists in the dance community to kind of run choreography with us, or like to have just small little workshops introducing different kinds of dances. And I actually met Maya Maiden through that, which is interesting because of how we are today in like the community, which I think it's cool to kind of see that. And then I also met Tracy there. She was teaching a locking class. I didn't know it was locking then. I was like, wow, this is cool. But yeah, it was, so these events that I went to, it was just really cool, just like looking at different styles, just being introduced to like these different dancers. And then we also had, so all my friends danced. So I hung around with the dancers. And then it wasn't until probably junior year again, where I was brought out to the jams. So like there were sessions and there was like battles that I would go to, and they were all breaking events. Just because, yeah, the breaking then was like a pretty popular thing to go into. Yeah. So like many, I kind of got into breaking. And it didn't last as long either, because like it was fun, but it wasn't something that I was like, I'll just watch my friends and support them in the battle. So that's what I did. And then it wasn't until Adam, he took us to Central Mission, which then introduced us to the popping sessions. And I would just sit there for like the whole year, like a whole year's worth, just sitting and watching. And like, I didn't know what it was, so I felt more comfortable watching it and like saying, okay, this is how, because how sessions work is that we just hold ciphers. Sometimes they would run drills. So I would just watch how everything was curated, how sessions ran. And then it wasn't until one year, Tracy just was like, she was taking a set, and she just came right up to me, and she like looked at me, and then she told me to take a set. So I did take a set with no knowledge of popping or just dance in general, because I didn't specify in like a dance or a style then. So that was like the first time I freestyled, and it was scary at first, but it felt nice. So she allowed me to kind of open up a little bit. And then later on, they started running styles drills. And then that's when she would just come and be like, hey, let's run like Scarecrow. So she would explain like in Scarecrow, the main idea, like the technique behind it, the foundation of it, and then we'll just one by one take a set. And I did that for a good year. And then, after that, she actually wanted to, because Tracy has always battled, or went out of state, battled on her own. And so one day she was like, oh, we should all go battle together as like a community, because the poppers, there's a very few select of us. So she was like, okay, let's just all go to Chicago and let's go battle. And so we went to, actually my first battle that I went with them was in Indiana, Journey to the Cypher. So that was my first battle, very scary, but it was really fun. And that was the first time I've seen a different community, like a different scene, a different how they kind of, the energy of the community there. So that was really fun to watch. I did not place, clearly, because I have not been dancing, but it was really cool seeing, it was really cool seeing the battles and watching Adam and Tracy, because they were at semifinals together. So that was really fun watching friends just battle each other, how they kind of battle. It was really goofy, but it was really fun to watch. And then as we continue going to different battles, we were like, oh, we all click. It's really cool. Like, everyone's cool to hang out with. We all have the same interests in that we want to work on popping. We want to grow as like a community. And then we're like, oh, let's just form a crew. So all those that traveled with us were like, hey, what should we be named? And it actually came from an inside joke. So one of the battles, from what I know at least, Tracy was battling this OG in Michigan. And it was a funny battle because he was kind of disrespectful. And then so it made Tracy like super angry. So she went in, took him out, and then God sent, he got up and he was like, all day. And then that's when they're like, okay, let's just call ourselves All Day because of how Tracy destroyed that man in the battle. So that's how our name started. So it's kind of like more of like an inside joke, and that we kind of just, I don't know, we're all killing it all day, working all day, drilling all that stuff all day. So that's how we kind of started. Then we started traveling more so as All Day. And we kind of traveled more in the Midwest, so Chicago, Michigan. I didn't go too much in Wisconsin, but I know some of the crew members did. Although some of us may not have placed, it was still really cool to like just travel as a crew. That way we're kind of connecting more, and we're also trying to figure out what we want to drill, what we want to work on, and looking at different scenes and taking workshops there too, because like meeting their like OGs or like seeing the people that started their community, that was also pretty cool to watch. And so then after battles, we kind of fell into performances through the community. So like my maiden knew Tracy really well, so she would ask if she would have like a group. Before we were All Day, we performed at Rooted as Minnesota Funk Styles. And so that was my kind of first performance to popping, or performing with popping. And then later on, we just slowly got more gigs. So we did 2 more years of Maya Maiden's Rooted. We got an opportunity to perform at Drop the Mic, which was really cool to do too. We also so Tracy wanted to throw her own performance, and she got that through the Minnesota Fringe Festival. So through the Minnesota Fringe Festival, that's when we made our own production. Lots of work. To who people do that as a living, you guys are freaking dope, because that was hard. So just figuring out choreography and stringing things together and like finding the committed dancers. So the whole thing with Minnesota Fringe, we called our production Funkin' Good Time. And we presented like popping, so the funk style, so popping, locking, and whacking, and we wanted to incorporate breaking. So we had Jay, Annie Up, and Mona Lisa be in it too. So that was really fun, just working with a different style and trying to showcase that. Which I think the idea first came from Jason and Dancing Dave, which those two, when they did their performances, was super dope too, because I was like super backtrack, Dancing Dave. awesome dancer. He is probably one of our biggest inspiration for all day to like push. He's an amazing mover, and he purely like, you can tell like he dances purely because he enjoys it, he loves it. And he's a great teacher too. So unfortunately we don't see him as much anymore. But yeah, so he was kind of an inspiration of how we battled as a crew, how we sessioned or how we worked as a crew going forward. Funkin' Good Time. So after Funkin' Good Time, we kind of wanted to work more on productions. So that was kind of the goal, which we fulfilled, and it was really fun to do. Throughout the years, so we had Central Mission was our big session spot, and I forgot what year it closed. So because it closed, we were like, oh shoot, where are we gonna session now? So we were jumping from spaces to spaces. Sometimes we would session at Side for Side, which was a really dope spot. But then we're like, let's try to open up our own space. So that's when we started All Day Studio. Initially, that was just for like, oh, we want a session spot, or we want a spot for like the poppers to just come in and just dance for our Wednesday sessions. So that's how we started All Day Studio, which was it's an adventure on its own. So starting a business for me was interesting, especially with a hobby that I wanted to keep as a hobby. I never really viewed dance as something as like a career, because for me, I know I'm not willing to hustle. I'm not willing to like, oh, am I gonna get a paycheck? Like that's just too much stress for my own brain. So I always knew it was gonna hobby. So starting a business with dance I had to like switch gears in my mind, and it was a struggle, but we did it. So All Day Studio probably taught me a lot with keeping things business, and then because at one point I kind of struggled with dance. So like I'm like, oh, I have so many business things to do. I can't, like, I'm not focusing on my dancing. So that actually helped me find time for me to find time for me to enjoy the dance again. And then so All Day Studio, I'm glad we are still pushing for it, because our main goal for that is to kind of bring in artists and kind of share the culture of like the street dances. So like introducing like whacking, like what is whacking? We don't have a whacking scene as far as I know. So sharing that knowledge to the community, and getting an understanding of history and foundation. So connecting with, so me finding that time to work on my own dance, I would go on Zoom and do Zoom workshops. So that's how that's how we're bringing the two whackers here. So being able to meet different dancers from different places, and then bringing them here to kind of share their knowledge and their experience with the dance. I think it's kind of cool, and kind of falls back to that whole leadership that you're talking about, how like, oh, that's right, there's a generation behind me now. So I have to kind of like put myself in the mindset of, okay, now I have to go search for knowledge, because I'm like, there isn't going to be anyone else doing it. So that is also a struggle with them too. So like I'm trying to like be, okay, how am I going to do this so that it's not so much pressure on me and like my dance as well. So then I'm kind of doing it both. So I'm taking classes, but then I'm also be like, okay, can I bring this person in? Like, do I think would this person be super dope to share to the community and stuff? So that leadership role. I wouldn't say I'm like a leader. Like that's not the first thing that I would call myself. I kind of like grew into that, I guess. Still working on it, but it's an interesting journey. But yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Cool. My name is Cheng, Xiong. I guess my story of how I got into dance is, in a way, it's similar to Shawn's, reason as well. My uncles and them and cousins were doing dance a lot, and it was really cool. And they will do it at parties or family gatherings in Hmong New Year, and I'll be there as a young child, and they actually living with them for a while. They were doing it looked really cool, and so I was like, I want to look cool, and eventually looking cool gets you girls, and so I want to look cool and get girls and stay fit. And so it was multiple reasons to it, and it definitely where it really started was in elementary school. I started about 3rd grade, 4th grade at Ames Elementary with my teacher, Mr. Thor, which is now he says when I turn 18. Now that I'm 18 plus, don't call him Mr. Thor no more. He's not a teacher anymore. He's a friend, and so I call him Vu now, Vu Thor. But yeah, he stayed after school for the ESL kids, held a program, opened the gym, opened the space, the stage for us to practice, and kids who wants to dance can dance. Kids who wants to play could play. That was really extremely helpful. And then, in a way, it's like hearing your stories makes me think like, oh yeah, I mean that's kind of the shoe I was thrown into as well. It's like I had the space available for me to practice and learn dance, but at the same time, people were doing it for fun. But for some reason, I felt really driven by this movement, and so I started taking leadership choices and saying, we gotta practice, we gotta do this, we wanna do something. And so I slowly become more of a leader throughout my after school program. I don't think it's even a program. So, but yeah, that quickly led to middle school, where I performed my first time with a few friends because I was a break dancer, and then I also did a lot of popping, but it wasn't knowledge popping. It was just like watching videos and move your muscles and move like a robot kind of popping style. Long time ago, in like 2000 actually. And so it's the distinguishment of words and choices is a little different than now. But that's where I performed my first time in 7th grade with the 8th graders, and then they're like, yeah, you're dope, man. I was like, oh, cool. But then they left 8th grade, and now I'm in 8th grade. And so that's where I met one of my good friends, my best friend, Chol, and it's where we battled together for the first time in the school dance, and then we decided, hey, you're dope, I'm dope, let's start a crew. And so we started a crew. It was just us two first, and then a few friends that were close to us that also danced a little bit too. And dancing at that time was already like slowly spiking up, going up, and higher more people were joining in, people were starting. And so that's when we decided, let's name something else, something different. What do we do? We were, okay, motion crew, that's cool. So that's when we started motion crew in 2004. And so we did a couple of performances, and our first major performance that really hit us, the 5 of us, was it? Me, Sichua, Philip, yes, Dancer's Block. I think, oh my gosh, I can't remember anymore now. Yes, the 5 of us. And we won first place at the talent show, and then the video is still on YouTube, and I love watching the video so much, because it's like we're so young and just so driven and just so passionate in expressing ourselves. And that was the eye-opener for us. We're like, guys, if we could do this one thing here, we could do it so much more. And then so we all agreed upon doing more of our passion and what we love. And so we decided to go to high school together, and in high school, that's where some of us then added more crew members, where we met in middle school as well through the battles. And so something that was very exciting happened in middle school was Washington versus Murray. And it was this big thing, happened throughout the whole year. It was a lot of breakdance battles. We will go to the Phelan stage and battle like constantly. People were biking there just to battle. That's where we met a few other guys, Thao and Johnny and Richard, and then that's where we went to high school together, and we stuck together and started performing, trying to perform, continue to perform, and then Johnson was definitely like one of the most intense, longest, but also best memories ever. And we were very fortunate to have a very supportive principal, and so Miss Arndt, an amazing person in the world. She supported us and then gave any extra funds that was left from the school. She'd give a few of it to us so we can have new music, updated music, sound system, gear, protective gear, head spins, caps, and just all these kind of amazing things that we didn't know we can have access to and we didn't know was even available. And so that was also amazing to have and unforgettable. And then also Dr. Smith, his name goes by Matt Smith. He was one of the chaperones there, one of the teachers there. He does the computer tech. And he actually is a breaker as well. And he held a space for us after school every time through his volunteer time. And then that's where Johnson became the open spot for the whole community. Our field house was open. And so we'll have the hard floor for people to come and do stuff in the hard floor. And we'll have the gymnastics where people come in and just throw their body away and not hurt themselves as much. And so for all 4 years of that, Johnson became that. And Motion Crew was just so happy to see the community like being there with us and growing with us. But along with the 4 years, Motion Crew also developed more performances, and that's where we decided, let's go for Hmong New Year and let's compete for Hmong New Year, and that's where we first time competed at Hmong New Year in 2005, 2006. Too much.
It was a New Year's.
It was one of these, exactly. But that's where we performed for the first time. We didn't win first place, but we're like, that's okay. We did get second place, and that is all that matters. The first place winners was Collaborations Crew, and that year we're like, we gotta just take them down just to see where we are capable of. And because the dream is, not only being the best dancer in the world, or best performer, or best crew, but also just letting yourself know that you could become anything you want to be, right? And so it's like, because there's someone better, that is the drive to you become even better. Not be better than them, but just to be better. And that's one of the drives and goal that we felt. And so the next year we came back with a bang, and then ever since then, we've been like feeling motivated to continue performing as Motion Crew. We did Hmong New Year River Center and the Metrodome. Those are the two biggest ones. Metrodome was obviously the most hardest one to compete in dance because they didn't have two sections. They had one section. And so all the dances, the traditional and modern dance, will all compete. And Minnesota Sunshine was just pure amazing. And to top them was somebody was off, or everyone was on point from your side. It was like neck and neck, hand in hand, so close. But it was amazing. But those years passed by, and college came. I'm not going to college yet. Through high school, Central Mission, that was the spot, and luckily Central Mission was also a community spot where it's like, if you want to come, you can come, and that's where I met Poppers then, and then eventually that's where I met Melvina as well, and it's like such a cool spot to even have in the community, because Johnson wasn't available for that, but it's awesome that Central Mission is available for that. But yes, and so Central Mission, it still kept going even through college, but as I got into college, I was like, what do I want to do in life? I don't know. All I've done is dance. I'll eat, sleep, dance, listen to music, dance. I'll talk about dance. I'll watch dance. Like, what else can I do? I mean, sure, I'm good at these things, but I don't see myself having a passion like how I have for dance. And so I decided, I can't just waste 4 years of college doing nothing. And so I decided, all right, I guess U of M has a dance program, and I'll just audition for the dance program. And that was a crazy night, day actually. It was the biggest snowstorm. It almost felt like it was fate. Like the biggest snowstorm. I was driving a 1993 Honda Civic that was dropped to the floor. So like snow, no way. But the snow was like it was like the big hit in 2011, 2010, 2011. That was the big snowstorm in January, and then so I auditioned, and luckily my friend who went audition with me that day and went to college with me again, Philip. We went to college together. We went to a dance program together, auditioned together. Luckily his dad had a truck, and so his dad took us that day. And usually auditions are held, a 5-hour, 6-hour audition process, and you get every 2 hours or so you'll get a call back to come back to the next 2 hours, and you come back again for the last hour to show your solo, and that's how the dance program works. I think it still works like that. But luckily that day they said because of the crazy snowstorm, the school U of M is gonna shut down. I'm like, what? That doesn't happen. So the U of M shut down, and they had the door. Everybody needed to be evacuated and leaving the area by, I believe, 3. And so they're like, well, let's just if you're auditioning for the program, then you're gonna stay with us till the very end and show us your solo. I was like, what? Yes. And so I was like fortunate to show my solo that day, and then that opened everyone else's eyes, and it was like, I've never done ballet, I've never done modern, I've never done jazz, I've never even seen it, I don't even know what it looks like, and I dive into doing this. And so I got a call back and said I made it through. So that's when I went to the school. That's why I declared my major as in the dance program. So throughout the dance, the U of M, within the dance program and out of the dance program in the community, it's just so much things that happen. And it's like, if I also name everything that was just amazing that was just brought to this world, it will take another hour to finish. And so it's like these amazing things, but that's where I met Carl. That's where he asked me to do my first dance performance with Black Label Movement in 2013. And that was my first professional performance in the performing arts theater stage, and it was eye-opening as well. But that's also where I met Darius Strong, and that's where I'll take the brother home, and we'll talk about dance, and we'll talk about we're the only male dancers that do true hip hop and do hip hop and grew up with hip hop, and what can we do with this in this dance performing arts world that people don't really know about and people don't focus on. And so whatever vision he had, he definitely had a end goal already, and I'm still just finding my way, finding what I can do with myself. And so I told him, whatever you do, I'm supporting you and I'm here for you. And surely 3 years later, I was part of a strong movement in 2014 when Darius sparked it out. But then with those performing opportunities and being in the community and still dancing and still breaking and still practicing, I was asked by Mona Lisa to be part of Breakfast, and then, which is back then we were known as Inu Company, but now we changed to Breakfast Dance Company. But that's where I met Mona Lisa, and I said, yes, of course, totally. This is amazing. This is what I want to do. I want to focus on breaking as well, and not just hip hop, and not just modern, and not just ballet or jazz. And so these movements just continue integrating in my body, and then I love everything that's happening to me and all the people I'm meeting, and it's just amazing. But after college, it's like, well, what do you want to do in life? Now you're done with college, you can't just keep performing and being, this dancer. I mean, you can just be this dancer, but can you make a living out of it? Probably not. Probably in a different way. And so, sticking with, full-time jobs, but also still performing with three other dance companies is definitely a busy life. But everybody I've met, it's just always been so inspiring and motivating to just see what their thoughts are and how that can drive you to drive yourself, to drive others as well. But there's just so much more to explain and so much more stories, and that in a way, that's where these things are in my body now, and these people that I meet and these thoughts I hear from them. Now it's like I kind of want to make something out of myself as well, and I guess, you know, being Hmong, it's like what can I do that can stand out, and what can I be to stand out, and just by a little bit, you know. And so I thought that, you know, maybe I've always, during college, I was like, this might work, maybe not, whatever, we'll see. And but now it's like, I think this is gonna work, whatever it is gonna make it work. And so I've been seeing my body, the creative thoughts in my body have changed and is developing and growing. It's like, I wanna become a different mover. I wanna be something else as well. And so I'm trying to develop this new movement, and it's like, what can I do with this new movement that it's in my body? And so, you know, finding modern dance training and my breaking training, and just finding a way to like integrate them somehow, where it's like, it's not really happened. People have done, you know, contemporary work and modern and the breaking, or contemporary and modern, but modern and breaking, and finding some aesthetic out of that. And throughout the journey, this is like, I think this might be it, you know. I've met these people to mean something, and then these things happen for a reason, and so I think I could be doing something here, and dancing, being Hmong, you know, it means something now, right?
Yeah.
So that's my story. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Hi, my name is Mai, and I guess where should I start with my dance story? I guess my dance story kind of happens in like different chunks in my life, and I guess to tell my dance story, I gotta give a little background on who I am. So I was born in a small refugee camp in Thailand, and so when we moved to the United States, we were first in California, and like with every Hmong family, we always watch like those Hmong music videos where there would be like girls dancing and like girls doing Hmong dance, and I was like, oh, that's so cool, I want to be like that too, because I want to be like on the TV and like be pretty like that. And so I think it was in middle school, like 5th grade, I met some friends, and they were also really into like Hmong dance, and so we wanted to like start a little group and like dance and perform for the Hmong New Year, not for like the big stage competition, but just like the small stage to like be there. And actually my parents were like really against it, because I guess like everybody has mentioned, like, you know, parents are against dancing, especially for girls. And, you know, there's a lot of like shaming happening, like, oh, you're gonna be polaya, you know, they would say stuff like that. But like I still like did it anyways. Like I remember like me in like 5th grade, like waking up at 5 a.m. to like go to my friend's house so that we can like practice Hmong dancing. And so we ended up being able to perform for the New Year in Fresno. And then, but after that, I like ultimately I had to stop, because, you know, my parents were like so against it. And then after a while, we moved here to Minnesota, and like I never really went back to dancing, because I was just like, oh, my parents are against that. But I always watched people dance, and I was always like inspired by that. And then I think when I finally like got back into it was in high school. I actually also went to Johnson down the street, and like the b-boy, the break dancing scene was really strong there, and I was really interested in that. But like I guess as a girl, I felt really discouraged, because I didn't really see like a lot of other girls doing break dancing. But I would always like watch from the side, and of course like the K-pop scene was also really strong there as well. But again, like I had no courage, so I was just like watch people from the side. And once again, like somebody wanted to start a Hmong dance group at Johnson, and so I joined that for 1 week, and then I had to drop out just because like there's so many schedule conflicts, and of course like the whole thing with my parents not wanting me to do that. And so I've always wanted to do dance, but I just had to like watch and admire from a distance, because I didn't have the courage to like push myself and like go against my parents' words until finally college came. And I guess that distance from that college gave me from my parents allowed me to kind of finally step out and go into the dance realm. And so my first year of college, I signed up for a dance class called Dance Composition, which was taught by Win Fricke. And this dance class wasn't really focused on technique or like any specific dance style, but rather it was more focused on choreography as a whole and like how to create a impactful story through choreography. So we were learning how to like piece different parts of a choreography together to make it like more unified and to really bring out the stories and the emotion. And so in doing that, I guess I felt really isolated in that class because I guess the dance scene at the college that I'm going to at McAllister is predominantly white. And so being there, being like one Hmong student out of 7 Hmong students at this school, I was really isolated and I felt really detached from my culture. And so whenever I was in that class, I guess that was like a time and space for me to really express like that loneliness that I felt. And so that class gave me the space to do that. And in that class, again, like I said, it wasn't focused on a specific technique, but I guess we did gravitate more towards modern and contemporary. So I didn't really learn how to dance, but instead I was teaching myself how to dance in that class by learning how to build choreography, if that makes any sense. And so yeah, and then that class, Win took us to the Cowles Center to watch a show called Solo. And to me, that was really weird, like, because I was still new to the dance scene, especially to like contemporary dance. And so I was watching like these individuals dancing on the stage. I was like, I don't understand what you're doing. Like, I don't understand how there's a story to that. But like, I still like pushed myself to stay in this class because I was like, this is the only way I'm able to like experience dance. And so I stick to that class. And then later that semester, the school that I was at, the school that I'm still at now, has a annual dance concert where it's student choreographers, and I went with my class, and I was really moved. Like that night, I watched a Vietnamese dancer named Thao, and he made a piece called "In Its Place" that like I honestly don't know what he intended for it to say, but like when I was watching that dance, I saw a lot of like. I saw that it was like strongly rooted in like cultural beliefs, and so I was like, I want to do that with like Hmong culture. Like I want to put like my culture on the stage and like let people see like the beauty in it. And so, and also like during that night, there was another piece that I forgot its name, but like in that piece, it was like all female dancers, and I saw Asian dancers for the first time, like after a long time of being in like a white space. I was like, oh, there are Asian dancers here as well, and that really moved me because I was like, maybe I can like be like them one day. And so I pushed through with this class, and by the next semester, there was an audition for the next dance concert. And so I went, and the auditions were 2 days. I went on the very first day, but I went there and I just kind of chickened out, and I just like sat there and like watched people, and I was like about to cry because I was like so nervous. I was like, I can't do this at all. But then I went back the next day because I was like, I need to like stop being a coward. And so I went the second day, and I auditioned for only one piece. It was by a student choreographer named Tori, who her dance piece was more Japanese folk and contemporary mixed together. And it was really intimidating because the studio space was about like as big as this room, and there were enough people there to like fill up the entire place. So I was like, how am I gonna be chosen out of everybody? But I was like, I'm gonna do this anyways, because if this works out, then like this is meant to be. And so I auditioned, and I guess that was on a Saturday. That was on a Sunday. And then Monday evening, I was like, they're still not sending out anything, so I don't think I got in. But then like right at the last moment, I checked my email once again, and I saw that like I made it into the piece that I auditioned for. And so it went from there, and I was still really like nervous, I guess, because like, again, I was really new to dance, and I didn't have any technique training. I just had like this, I studied dance and I knew what it was, but I've never moved before. And so this was really new for me, but like all the girls, it was like a all-girl cast, and like everybody was just so supportive, and I was like, this is the community that like I've been yearning for so long. Like after feeling so isolated at this school, like I finally found like a place of community. And so yeah, that performance happened, and it went really great, and like I enjoyed every moment of it. And then so flash forward to the next semester, my sophomore year, once again, because like these dance concerts happen every semester. And so for the fall dance concert, I was like, okay, I want to audition again and keep trying and keep learning. But I had work on the day of the audition, so I missed the auditions. And so I talked to Claudia, who's in charge of like the theater and dance department there, and I proposed to do a solo dance because I was like, I either create my own dance or I'm not in the dance concert at all. And so I was willing to like take that leap and do it because I didn't want to like continue straying away from the dance scene. And so actually before that, over the summer, I really wanted to dance, but I didn't have a space, and like I didn't really want to like go out to studios because I'm scared, you know, I'm like new to this, I'm like, I can't do this, I can't dance in front of people. And I actually came here in the basement because the Eastside Freedom Library is run by Beth and Peter, and Beth was actually one of my professors at McAllister. And so she was like, yeah, we have a basement space if you want to dance. And so I came here and like I did some dancing, like I watched a lot of like, I watched a lot of Hmong dancing, but like Hmong Chinese dancing and a lot of like classical Chinese dancing. And like I felt like that dance style like really fit in my body. And so I wasn't able to like learn it professionally, but like I watched videos and like self-taught myself here in the basement. And so for the fall dance concert, I was like, okay, for my solo, I want to do something similar to that. And I was thinking more and more, and I was like, what have I always been wanting to do? And for me, I've always wanted to like show my cultural pride, especially because like I'm in a predominantly white space. I wanted to do something to like make myself stand out. And so I was like, okay, I want this dance piece to be rooted in my Hmong culture. I want to like put that out there for everybody to see. And so I did a solo piece on Huplia, like soul calling, and like kind of like creating my own story about the shaman who enters into like the spirit realm and like has to like fight all these different spirits and like see if she can make it out, but translate that story into like a dance. And that was a very I think it was a great growing experience and learning experience for me because I was kind of really isolated because I was still doing stuff on my own. But for the first time, like people were reaching out to me to like talk about, oh, what are you doing? Like, how can I help you? And stuff like that. And so it was really great. And one of the dance instructors at McAllister, her name is Patricia Brown, but everybody calls her Sis or Sister Patricia. And we had like a lot of really great night conversations because I would like do my rehearsals like from like 9 to like 11 p.m. since I had classes and work throughout the day. And Sis would always be there and we would always talk, and like I would tell her like about how like I was nervous and like I felt like I couldn't do this, and like I felt like I shouldn't be doing this just because like I felt like with my lack of experience, I shouldn't be on the stage. But like the conversations that I had with Sis, which is so eye-opening, like we would talk about how like dance isn't meant to be like this hierarchy type of thing. Like it's meant for you to like tell your story and like express yourself. And like I think my late night conversations with her like really set it in my mind that like it's okay that like I don't have like that many years of like experience, and it's okay to like not be the greatest dancer as long as like what I'm putting on the stage is meaningful to myself. And so that pushed me to like continue going forward. And you know the performance happened, and like I got some like after the performance, like individuals in the crowd, like strangers will like come up to me and be like, that was really beautiful, and like other students of color at the school will come up to me and be like, that was really great, like I wish I could do something like that with like something from my culture. And like that, like the fact that like I was inspiring them like really pushed me to once again continue with dancing. And so right now I'm at my 3rd year at the college, and I'm finally taking techniques classes. So I'm taking modern with Darius Strong, and I was actually asked to be an assistant choreographer once again. And there's an upcoming show that we've been working on. But, flashback. Before that, before this semester, we had the whole COVID situation happening in the spring semester. And, I was actually supposed to choreograph a piece. I was choreographing a piece for the spring dance concert of this year. And we were working with Karen Charles from Threads Dance Company, and once again just focusing on like a lot more of like modern and contemporary dancing. But yeah, she was also there teaching us about like, this is how you build a strong choreography, like this is how you really make your story come to life on stage. And so working with her was also really great. But unfortunately with COVID, like that show had to be stopped, and like our school went into quarantine and all that stuff. But this semester, we're doing a virtual performance with Darius Strong and with Robert. And yeah, we're still in the process of like creating that and like exploring with how to like put dance on film, which is really interesting to me because I'm a film student. And so I think like the best of both worlds, dance and film coming together, like makes me really happy and excited to see where this would go. And I still have like a lot to learn, but I'm here trying to make connections, and so we'll see where that goes.
Thank you. And we're going to turn over now to hear Lou's story.
Hey everyone, can you guys hear me? Yeah, so awesome stories, everyone. My name is Lou. So everyone's stories intertwined in some way. Like Cheng and Shawn said, I think that's a typical Hmong boy story. So that's kind of mine too. So I started in 5th or 6th grade back elementary school. Started with a friend named Keela. We always went to Sheridan Elementary, and how I got started with him is that my elementary gym teacher was actually a breaker. And so in the middle of class, he was just like, "Hey, you guys want to see something?" We were like, "Yeah." And then he just went and spun his back like 20 times, and we are just like, "Wow." Um, I was like, "Wow, that looks cool. I want to do it." And me back then, I really so low self-esteem. I was a short Hmong boy, and then everybody's like super tall, and so I just felt like that might boost my self-esteem and get girls, because it might be a way for me to feel better about myself. So we started there. We were supposed to do a talent show in elementary, but we kind of backed out because I think we were just so beginner, and we were just kind of shy. And so after that, we transitioned to middle school, and he went to Hazel Park, and then I went to Battle Creek Middle School. And so from there, we met friends from our middle school. And so I met some friends named like G and a couple others, and then he met a couple friends like King and Vang. And so we were dancing, and then we just kind of came together and made a crew called ABC Crew. And initially the crew was called Asian Breakdance Crew, pretty funny story. But then we changed it to Alpha Breakers Crew. And like Cheng said, like I saw Cheng, I think it was Ames the first time, Ames School. And so I was like intimidated by a lot of these dancers because we were just starting out, and just seeing these dancers, I was like, wow, they're really good. And so I remember seeing Vang battled, I think Cheng's crew member Michael. And so that was really inspiring because they did a lot of stuff I wasn't able to do. With middle school, we did town shows. Hmong boys back then, the split bang here, I had that, the long bangs. I had rubber bands on my pants, and then got in trouble one time just walking past my math teacher's room, and he just got me lunch detention because I was wearing rubber bands on my pants, and it was supposed to be called gang related back then. And also, yeah, we started from there, and then transitioned to high school. A lot of us separated to even more different schools, and so I had friends that went to Central, some went to Johnson, and then I went to Harding. And so I kept dancing from there, still with the same crew. And then like Cheng said, Johnson practices, I always went there to go practice power on the mats because, like Cheng said, you could just throw the body around and not get hurt as much. So that was fun. Um, and then as high school started, as the started to get older, a lot of the friends in my crew started to fall off. So a lot of them had girlfriends, and they just kind of focused their energy on their girlfriends. Some of them kind of went into different habits like drugs, different kind of things, and then so I just kept on dancing, and I'm just kind of glad that I was dancing because growing up, I was born in Thailand in Pana, and then came here in '93 when I was a couple of months old. And so a lot of my uncles and cousins were gang members, and then I was just fortunate that I actually found dancing. And so that was kind of my outlet. And then when all my friends in high school or my old ABC crew kind of fell off, um, I was solo for a bit, and then I was dancing with Jake Morris, so my crew now Optimistic. I joined in with Optimistic after that, and Optimistic crew, uh, it was like awesome because just connected because uh, I still wanted to battle, I still want to compete, and then going in with them, it was uh, just really it kind of lit a fire in me again because I was just so down that friends that was growing up, they weren't doing the same thing I was doing, but still to this day, at least, they're still good friends of mine, but just not dancing as much. Mm. And also in high school, if I remember, I think we did a dance school called Boombox back because my friend G at Central, he had a connection with the rec next to it. And so we were dancing with Boombox for a bit. And then after that was Optimistic. After that was Optimistic. Um, Transition from high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I was initially going to go for dancing too, but I was like, I don't know, because I have to do other kind of styles. I was going to school full time, and then I was going through a hard time with certain situations. And then I was doing full time school, I was working, and I was trying to dance, and it was like a big struggle. Um, and also during that, I was teaching dance, and so with that, I met Marianne. Marianne, uh, I remember getting reached out to be kind of like an assistant to like these youth in the middle school for after school. And so they were kind of just breaking, and I would just kind of oversee them. And then after that, I started get offered a position to actually teach them. And I was only like 18 at the time. And then it's just crazy now seeing your students, wherever you go now, like they all grown up. They're like 21 now, 22, 23. And then uh, that was just an interesting time for me because I was still young, but at the same time, I was mentoring these 13 or 14-year-olds and seeing kind of like similar experiences where they were experimenting with things and trying to see where the path was going to go. Um, and so I was trying to be the best mentor I can be because growing up, there was always things that was thrown at you, like people doing drugs and doing other negative things. And so just try to have them focus on what's important and being themselves and trying to stay out of trouble. Um, and so with that, Marianne, she was like the after school program coordinator, I believe. She always talked to me about how we had like a center where I would teach dancing and they would do their be like a cultural center. And so she always talked to me about that, and we always had dreams. Um, and so uh, after that, I kind of stopped teaching so much. I was teaching like 4 or 5 schools a week, and then while working still, and so that was kind of draining on me. I didn't know what to do. I graduated with my 2 years for my generals, and I just didn't know what to do. Um, and so I was just working 9 to 5, regular job, and then out of nowhere, I get a message from Marianne. Hey, remember we talked about opening a center? And so I was like, yeah. She was like, yeah. Well, here's your chance. What if you start your own dance school? And so I was like, oh yeah, I might as well do it because I was kind of tired of my life. And also, um, with that too, like saw a lot of inspirations in the community. Like Jake of House of Dance, my crew member, he started the first hip hop popping and locking breaking studio in Minnesota, and so that was inspiring. And before that too, um, traveling to places like Florida and seeing like these b-boy centers that's meant for breaking and hip hop, that was inspiring to see how see what people could do in the community. Um, so that opportunity got brought upon me, and then I just kind of sacrificed working my job to just kind of get thrown into doing business now, which is called Cyberside. So right now, I'm running my dance school called Cyberside, um, and with that, just teaching youth. Youngest we've taught before was 4 or 3 actually, and it's just inspiring to teach all these kids because growing up we never had these mentors. Like back then we would just be kind of self-taught and have like friends kind of help you here and there, teach helping you with certain moves, but never like a class. And now I just want to like provide these opportunities for these kids that we didn't have growing up, because back then middle school, like we would travel, like I would ride bike to the rec like every day, walk. I remember because I remember we were limited on bikes, and so me being the smallest one, I would be sitting on the front of the bike, and someone would be standing on the pegs in the back, and so it'd be 3 people on the bike, and so that was that hurt my butt too because I was just sitting, and it's like a 10-minute bike ride, and so that was a fun and memorable time. But now it's different, and I just remember also performing back then. No car, we got dropped off to perform at Roseville, and my house was in St. Paul, and we didn't have a ride back, and I remember, I think it was cold too, and so my friend Cheng, I think he had his little blue Civic, and it was just limited space, and there was like at least like 7 of us, and so I was fortunate enough to be able to ride in his car, and half of the others had to walk from Roseville back to St. Paul. And so seeing all this struggle kind of made who I am today, because now I just feel lucky sometimes that we have certain things now. Um, and so with that, with the school, just mentoring and helping the younger generation, um, and because back then too, like parents didn't support like what a lot of the speakers have said. I remember I would just be dancing, I come back home, I get yelled at, and then my parents would be like, what are you doing, you gonna go be in gangs or something? And I was like, I'm just going to go dancing. And then remember one time getting locked out of the house too, because I was going out and practicing, just hanging out with my friends. And then now luckily my parents are a bit more supportive. I remember um, now seeing how my parents react now, because I remember winning my first competition, and I remember battling against Minnesota Joe and Tiberius in top 4. And Minnesota Joe was like I looked up to him, and he's the best, one of the best. And so went to a tiebreaker in that battle, and then I won the tiebreaker against Minnesota Joe. And so I was just like, wow, like I was just so happy. And then winning that jam after, I won $50, and then just showing that to my parents, it just made me. I felt proud about it. And then now that I'm doing more performances with the kids and myself. I'm just kind of fortunate enough to have opportunities like performing for like Timberwolves, lucky enough to perform for like Super Bowl, and then other kind of different performances. And also, funny story with the Timberwolves. Actually, when I started, there was actually no auditions for the breaking team for the Timberwolves, and so I tried out for the hip hop team. And so I was doing all this hip hop choreo, and I'm stiff. I'm not a hip hop dancer, and so I remember just doing the hip hop dance. I was like, oh man, this is bad. I don't think I'm gonna get through. And then there was like the freestyle part, and luckily I was breaking, and then the coach was like, hey, you should just join the breaking team. You're awesome. And so she messaged Los Boogie and seeing, if I could join them. And so luckily, uh, I joined in because I had to go to the hip hop team. And so I don't think anyone else has gone through what I went through, had to go take the hip hop auditions and then transition to the breaking team. But now it's different because there's auditions for the breaking team now, and so I'm just really lucky to have supportive people and like inspirations like all the other speakers in the room, or I guess in the other room, not my room, but um, and it's just you know uh, being able to see everyone grow is inspiring, especially the kids and even like artists now. A lot of people, I think a lot of people when they were growing, when a lot of people grow up and they're dancing, a lot of people sometimes feel pressure to make it like, oh, I have to make this a career or else I have to stop. And for me growing up, it was just a hobby, but then I came into a career. And there are still people today that still dance for the love of it and still have other careers. You know, there's people that are doctors and they're still dancing and competing. And so I feel like the new generation now, should take into consideration that you can still do this if you love it. So, like I said, there's probably a lot more that's intertwined with everyone. Like Shawn, I remember seeing Shawn in battles, and then Cheng also, friendly competitions. You know, it's like back in my head, it's like, like I want to beat them. And it's funny with my crew member Jake too, is that I remember being so intimidated by Jake. He's my crew member now. Back then, I was just so intimidated by him because he was an aggressive dancer, and I didn't really understand breaking like the balance at the time. And so now, kind of like I'm lucky like those incidents happened too because it made who I am today. So I'm just really glad for everyone's stories and all these experiences.
Oh my gosh, your stories are fantastic. Thank you. I have a few questions, and you've shared so much, and there really is a lot of similarity of how kind of a balance between going with the flow. You've got friends that are inviting you, or you join a student group, or you see something on TV. Like there's that inspiration, and at the same time, a lot of initiative that you've each taken to pursue dance and to find ways to see yourself in dance, because it is hard in our society. Our bodies are not very trusted in society. So like, how do you make a case for dance as a form, as an art form? And so I saw a lot of similarities around kind of those paths and forging new paths, and also kind of seeing yourself within a line of generations, right? Like having had inspirations ahead of you and recognizing already you have people behind you that are kind of following in your footsteps. What are some things that you think are going to, I think we've heard a lot about what there is a difference, and you've shown how you can make a living or partial living and have something, to complement. What are some things that you see happening for the generations behind you? Or what do you hope that is going to be new for you now? And Lou, if you want to add something, just wave your hands and I'll switch the mic.
I guess I can go first. So I think one of my biggest goals that I'm constantly fighting for is to hopefully make this a new norm, especially for Hmong women. When I was in this journey, I see a lot of talented and women who has so much potential to grow. And one thing that I always see is they stop because it's not the norm. And I really hope that the future holds where, especially for Hmong women, that this is a normal thing to do and exploring it to do. And I hope our younger generation carry on. I always say for them to carry on our story, for them to build their own story, for them to build their own path. And I think that's one thing why I always preach so much about histories and techniques and trying to be versatile in your styles, is because that will just only make you that much stronger as a dancer. So I really hope in the future our dancers, you know, I always fight for seeing more of your faces everywhere. And I hope that our dancers in the future, especially for Hmong women, there's just more of us. And I'm starting to see more of us, and it's a beautiful thing, and there's a growth. But then now I don't want it to stop. So it's like, you know, we started it. That's great. Now let's keep on climbing and let's keep on growing. And I agree with, you know, the part of saying you don't have to make this a professional living. Like you can, but you don't have to. You can still do this, and you can still, you know, go to school and work full time. And another thing too is I even push it further to, you know, because a lot of Hmong women, when you get married, the first thing they do is you have to stop. I'm married, I have a kid, and the first thing everyone said is you have to stop dancing at my wedding. And I laughed, and I thought it was so funny. And I just, you know, I really hope that not only do they continue it, you know, when they're single, but continue it when they're married. Because I feel like that would just break the norm and just make everything just, like, for us, just that much better.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because of like social media and how like we're just so exposed to so much information now, and it's easy to like see things and find things. And I feel like it's for next generation, even our generation, to have clear choices, clear supported choices. So then we can continue to find ourselves and to realize that, you know, you can do things if you're in a very specific, in a unique position. Because of course, I'm married to Nancy. We have a kid together. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I don't have a full-time job, but I do dance on the side. Because me and Nancy, dance isn't our career, but we treat it as if it's a passion, as if it is a profession. But it's not our career. It really isn't. But we just do it because it does more for us, not career-wise, but more mental, emotional, physical, to learn more about our bodies. And it's just kind of like, if you kind of take a step back and not look at it from a dance lens, like any lens that you do, whether if you're a cameraman, whether if you're a screenwriter, what if you're like a factory worker, anything that you can learn, that you can do, it's a very general concept. And I hope everyone in our generations and the next generations have those choices and can see that it's somewhat the same, the concept of just trying, of going for it, of committing, of doing, but it's just a different path, a different category, a different genre. But it's very much the same of growing and building and being part of a community and bettering your skill set and becoming just a better human being. So it's clear choices to be a better human being.
I guess for me, because there's so, like what Shawn said, there's a lot of information out there, and in terms of dance, there's a ton of styles. So really dabbling, for me, dabbling is okay for me, because then, especially if you're first starting, you're still trying to figure out what you actually want to do. But especially like being patient, and with, yes, social media, everything's like, videos are like 15 seconds more, you're bored, you're scrolling to the next thing. So kind of being patient, taking your time to actually figure out what it is that you really want to do. And for me, I jumped right into popping. So now I've actually given the opportunity to try like whacking, to try like a little bit of choreography. And so I guess there is no proper way to do things either. So like figure out how you want to learn, and like how you kind of want to go into things. So there's that.
Yeah, I'll probably just say that, you know, I agree with everyone, and I think what everyone sees is, I think, being that we are our own leaders, and then we are a group of leaders in a space together, that we're speaking from the same I guess, perspective for the most part. I don't see any disagreement, and I think that everything is well said and well put together. And anything I'll have to add on to is just not letting things or the history or the struggle get washed away, and then the future community and the youth and from here to the next, or maybe hopefully 100 plus years, right? It's like hopefully it doesn't get washed away and unforgetted and have no means and have no drive. Like, yes, they will now have the resources more than we did when we first started. And we now have more resources than the people that before us started, and so it's just constant more stack of resources and everything just keeps stacking up. But then just because you're reading from the top page doesn't mean you forget about the bottom page. And so I guess that's my only thing I'll add on to that, and so the future doesn't forget about our struggles and our generations for us the struggles, and so we all stay in the same drive and reasons in a way.
I guess I'll speak about it from like the perspective of the younger generation. Like, I'm very thankful that like there's like so many Hmong role models now available to us that like we can look up to and like learn from, of course. And I want to echo what you said about like having dance become like a norm instead of it being inaccessible to like not just Hmong dancers but Hmong woman dancers. And also I think going forward, I just want to see like Hmong dancers take up more space and like really, because I see a lot of Hmong dancers within like the urban and hip hop realm, but I want to see like more Hmong dancers take up the space in like something that's contemporary or modern, like not like just continue to take up more spaces in different parts of different dances.
And we'll turn it over to Lou.
Yeah, so I'm really glad like you guys are talking about this topic. Like, I'm glad to see people setting a new trend, like Nancy, seeing more females in the dance community, because there's not as much female dance community or female dancers in the community as much as male dancers. Especially, I would like to see a more trend in the b-boy b-girl community, having more females in the scene, because like you guys said, it teaches patience. It's like in breaking, you're learning a move, it's going to take dedication and hard work. It's like you're going to college and you're just kind of not putting in all the work. Dancing applies to kind of all different kind of life lessons and life circumstances. Like building confidence. From my personal experience, I was a shy Hmong boy. I was scared to talk to people. I was scared to talk to girls. And I think the way I'm now, because breaking kind of helped build up my confidence, and I wouldn't be able to be where I am today here speaking to and on this discussion if it wasn't for the dance. And also now I see that the new generation of parents are seeing the benefits of dancing, because like I said, our parents before, they just saw it like, oh, you're just rolling on the ground, you're not doing anything to help yourself, you should just stop, you need to get married. Like right now, my mom's still telling me, you need to get married, you're getting old, and so yes, I think seeing now like parents that we teach, with all the people that's in discussion right now, we see that there's a lot of the youth now, parents that sees the benefit. And like experience I had with like Cheng and I teach a breaking class at my school. Our student Nolan, right? He was like 5, 6 years old, and he was a shy kid, and he came late to class one day and he was crying because he was so shy, he didn't have the confidence. And then now you see him on the floor, he's just like dancing and spinning on his head and freezing like no tomorrow. And then it just makes me jump. And when I see that, it inspires me. And parents say to me all the time, we appreciate, what you do, because now those kids, they're building up their own self a lot faster than what we would have had if we would have had mentors back then too. So I appreciate that these new parents and families now are seeing that dancing, any kind of dancing, it's not just dancing just to look cool. It builds lifelong benefits, confidence, patience, and facing your fears too. Like when I battle, like I think the dance floor as if like it's like a fear or a challenge. And then when it's just me and the opponent, I'm just like, I'm gonna stare you down, and then I'm gonna like mess you up. I'm gonna like smoke you, and I'm gonna beat you. And so no matter how famous or how good the other guy is, it's just about doing your best, and that's just for anything in life. Doing your best and trying hard. Yep.
Well, I thank you all. This has been such a rich conversation, and just being so open to sharing the struggles, like you said, and also the inspirations, the points where that has given you the boost to just keep going. Even if there's a break in where dance was in your lives, you picked it up, and those stories are really meaningful. And I just want to thank you. Thank everybody for coming and joining us today on Facebook and being part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.